Hey everyone, how are you all doing? Today I'm going to be taking a look at my custom Mafex Omni-Man. I have been wanting to make a solid Omni-Man custom since seeing, the first season of the show, and I finally was able to get around to it because I tried to make like a Mezco style version and it didn't really pan out the way that I wanted. And I tried to just modify the Diamond Select one, and that worked for what it needed to and all that. And I like the animated style of the Diamond Select one, but that figure just has single joints. And for any superhero character, they have to have double joints. Like you can't not have double joints on, or at least if you're gonna have single joints, have them go at least to 90, at least. I mean, God. So that was when I decided to take it upon myself to make a Mafex Omni-Man. This is by far the hardest custom that I've ever made. It's the most rewarding custom I've ever made. I basically built this from the ground up, and I would like to shout out, most importantly, probably my biggest inspiration for it is, I believe, Dang It Productions on Instagram, and I think their YouTube is also called that because they have like stop motions and then videos and stuff like that showing their custom Mafex Omni-Man that they built on like the Venom body, and that figure is gorgeous. They did such a great job on that, so shout out to them, and if you haven't checked out their stuff, go check them out. But this is my own take on it, and I used a hodgepodge of stuff in order to make this guy. So without further ado, let's get into the entirety of what I did to make this a reality. So let's bring him a little bit closer, just so you can kind of get a little bit more sense of detail on him real quick and get that to focus. So obviously, as you can see, the most notable thing, that's J. Jonah Jameson's head. This is the No Way Home J. Jonah Jameson head. And let's see if I'll bend the knees real fast, show you guys a little bit closer as well. I repainted the mustache and the eyebrows, and I sculpted on the hair and, added some detail and all that stuff. And my thought process when doing this head sculpt to make it look like, how he looks as Omni-Man, animation-wise, but realized, is, well, if I mess this up, or if somehow this Omni-Man custom doesn't pan out the way that I want it to or whatever, then I'll have a J. Jonah Jameson head from the original Raimi trilogy, and I can still use that for this, because all I did was just put some blue tack on here. But I could not be happier with how the head sculpt turned out. I love it. And I know that it might not be like everyone's kind of cup of tea in terms of a live action looking Omni-Man, because he may look like a little old or something like that, for it. But to me, this is perfect. I love this. I mean, it's J.K. Simmons, so it makes sense. J. Jonah Jameson, J.K. Simmons. I would love to see, like, in the live action Invincible movie that we're going to get, I think J.K. Simmons could easily still play Omni-Man. But that's just me. I'd also would love to see like Henry Cavill, John Hamm. I feel like any of them could absolutely knock it out of the park and do that as well. But the rest of this figure, I would say the most integral piece that I had to get right was the crotch. And I know that probably doesn't make sense to anyone that doesn't customize, but for those of you who do customize and customize like as much as I do and stuff like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because if the crotch piece is like a little too hard or whatever, or if like everything's a little too close, you can kind of see it already on his right thigh right there. If it's a harder material and they clash, it's going to rub off. No matter how many coats of sealer you put on there or sanding or whatever, it's always going to rub off even a little bit, and it's just annoying, especially to someone like me who is a perfectionist. But I was able to use, let's get into the actual recipe. Other than the head of what I did to this, the entire, from the wrists up, is all Cyclops. I lied, not the wrists. The forearms up is Cyclops. So the mid-torso, the torso, arms, forearms, all that stuff is Cyclops that I sculpted onto. I'm very proud of how the logo turned out as well. I feel like this looks really nice. And painted his gauntlets, or sculpted his gauntlets, and then painted those. Obviously, the whole figure is painted. The only thing is that the gauntlets are a little big. That is my only gripe that I have with it. But other than that, I think that those turned out well. The entire lower half, though, is Superman. So if you guys want to, kind of take a crack at that recipe, it's a very expensive recipe. But yeah, I use Superman's legs, which you can kind of tell. If you know your Mafex, you can pretty much just tell from looking at it the recipe that it went into. And what we're talking about in terms of the crotch needing to be a perfect piece, obviously it doesn't line up that well. You can see a little bit of the blue paint rub right here because it stuck to it. I put it back together too quickly and it just stuck to it and ended up rubbing the paint off. But if I were to repaint that, reseal it, it would be perfectly fine because his left leg is perfect. So thankfully, Superman's crotch piece is, you know, a close enough red to me, like under normal lighting, and it's a rubbery enough piece to where I don't have to deal with any paint rub. And what I did is I just removed all of the paint on the actual crotch piece itself and then cut out the shape of the lower half of his suit because I was debating on whether or not I wanted to sculpt and paint onto the actual lower torso piece. And then I just thought about it and I was like, you know what? I feel like this could actually work if I just went ahead and did it this way. So I did, and I personally could not be happier with how this turned out. And if you're a stickler for like complete accuracy and stuff like that, his suit's not white. It's not as white as it should be, but white paint is so hard to work with. So bringing it back around again to Dang It Productions, I saw what they did. They used a very, very, very light gray, and it looked fantastic. So I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. I'll try that on mine, see how it turns out. And I personally love it. I feel like for a live-action Omni-Man, I think it works. And it also kind of breaks up the head sculpt versus the body itself because having his hair be white and stuff like that on the sides and then having his suit be a lighter gray, I feel like that works because I tried to do white and it just didn't look that right. And if I had done gray for like the hair, it wouldn't have been as comic booky, you know what I mean? So I like the sense that it looks comic booky, but also looks realistic, if that makes any sense whatsoever. And then as for the hands, this side is a knockoff Deadpool hand, which I've been using most of those hands for him, but I also have really enjoyed using Homelander's hands because he has the pointing fingers, so you can get the think Mark memes, you know, and stuff like that, or think Homelander. The greatest thing about this to me is no paint rub. No paint rub in these joints. Look at that. Look at it, if it'll focus. Look at that, no paint rub. I did forget to paint the inside of the joints up here, though, on the arms. I'm not sure how I managed to forget that. I feel like that's a very integral piece, so. But again, you can't really notice it until I get him like this, so, it's all right. As for his cape, it's a little ugly. I'm going to be honest, on the back, it's a little ugly. So I wanted to make his cape fit to him and not come over the sides like Superman does. So I just took a wired cape that I had that I think I got from GPS Lot, and then I actually sculpted over this. So you can kind of see it's real ugly. He looks like he's got a hunchback on here. But, you know, from the front, it's not a problem. Oh, and then the neck also. I did paint that. I didn't sculpt or anything. And the neck is Shazam's from the Shazam movie because mine broke. So I was like, all right, what can... This entire figure is basically made out of Mafex fodder that I had. So... And like I said, I could not be happier. He looks so great. I have the reissue Mafex Superman on the way, so I'll be able to do that. But here is that I had a work in progress before I scrapped it, a repainted version of Superman. So like here's what you can see, you know, bulk wise in that, what he would look like next to him. As for height, here he is with Batman. I feel like this looks good. If you want to do Batman versus Omni-Man, I think this looks pretty good. He is a little bit shorter than Batman. If I have him in a flying pose, it really won't have much of an impact on him. And besides, are you going to tell Omni-Man that he's shorter than you? Because Batman, I love you, but you'll get absolutely decimated. With no prep time, of course. If he had prep time, you know, Batman can beat anybody. And then here he is next to Homelander, because of course I had to compare the two of them. This looks great as well. I love this. This you can get I can get my Mortal Kombat on with it. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments, and also happy holidays. Hope you all are staying safe and staying warm and staying happy, especially around this time of year. It's always hard for some people, so be kind to each other. So yeah, it's gonna do it for me, and I will catch you all in the next one. See ya.